Hello, and welcome to episode 4 of 0451, a gaming podcast, with me, Simon, and Giles.
Hello, episode 4.
Episode 4.
Already.
We've come so long.
They grow up so fast.
Did you hear I managed to actually pronounce the podcast name?
Been practicing.
Correctly this time.
Been practicing since last week's.
Yeah.
Absolute mess. How are you, man?
I'm good. Not bad, you know? We're getting through this pretty quickly now. Getting a bit more regular, which is good. I've been playing some games, obviously.
That's good.
Handy.
Useful.
Oh, by the way, actually, before we get started, because I know what will happen is some people maybe won't listen to the entire podcast, but a little bit of a shout out. On Saturday, I will be participating in a live stream charity event.
Oh yeah,
for sick and injured kids on behalf
Extra Life?
On behalf of Extra Life. So if you would like to donate, you can do so. You can actually follow my Twitch account, which is twitch.tv/invertlook, or one word, and there will be links up in there to donate to.
Awesome. We can put links in the description for the YouTube video as well, right?
Yes.
Cool.
But without further ado, let's get started then.
I forget who spoke about what they've been playing first last week.
I think it was me.
So is it my turn?
Yeah, if you want to do it that way.
Why not? What have I been playing? So I platinumed Assassin's Creed Odyssey. Somehow.
Yeah, that sounds like a slog.
No, I mean, basically it was my own fault, but I pushed through it too quickly, really, because I wanted it done before Red Dead. So, obviously Red Dead came out on Friday. So I wanted to be done with the initial, sort of done with Assassin's Creed Odyssey before I played Red Dead. And I'm not done with an Assassin's Creed game generally until I've platinumed it.
Or any game, right?
Yeah, especially with Assassin's Creed though. But yeah, so I platinumed it and I thoroughly enjoyed it. I think that I've kind of been finding my way in terms of what my opinions are about it as I go, and it's kind of been interesting because every week on the podcast I've kind of expanded a little bit on what I thought, what I didn't think. And generally, a lot of the criticisms I had early on still hold up. You know, it's a little too big, literally, a little too big. It starts a little slow, and I will say it's much more fun to play at higher levels, which is actually the same as Origins was.
Huh.
Origins, you kind of struggle through early on as well, and you can kind of get. You know, things can turn sour for you quite quickly.
How long does it take to get to those sort of high levels, though? Like how many hours?
I because I was doing side content as I discovered it, I kind of got to it before I got to that level before I'd finished the story. So I ended up being kind of over-leveled. Not over-leveled. The game clearly has checks in place, which means you can't ever be really over-leveled. So I noticed that side quests would be the level of, say I'd find a side quest or a story quest that would be the level above me or 2 levels above me or whatever. And when I got to that level, perhaps I'd level up 2 or 3 more times and the side quest would level up its like required level as well, or its recommended level. Does that make sense? So
yeah. It scales with you.
It scales with you, but you start off being below it, and then when you get above it, you can only be so far above it. So it's to stop you being super over leveled, I guess.
Yeah.
But this isn't the case for all side quests. This is just sort of region by region, and the same with the story. But I'd probably say maybe it's not that it's not fun before this point, but I'd say that it becomes more fun when you hit sort of the 20-hour, 25-hour mark.
Wow.
It's fine before then. It's great before then. I'd say the first sort of 5 hours are a little bit slow because they're kind of tutorial island. They're not bad. They're just a little slower. And then, the second 10 to 15 hours are great. And then it only gets better from there. By the end of the game, it's super fun.
I always think that that's kind of like I don't know whether how effective that is in terms of, I mean, especially new players coming in to Assassin's Creed might be put off if they had to spend at least 5 hours before they got to good content, and even experienced players or players who liked Assassin's Creed or gamers who game a lot, right? Or if you have limited time, it's not...
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a bit harsh to say good content, because the content is good before that. It's a little slow starting. Whereas I think Assassin's Creed Origins suffered from the problem of being too fast starting, like, especially narratively. At the start of Assassin's Creed Origins, I had no idea what was going on. It doesn't explain it till a bit later. With Odyssey, you know what's going on, but it's kind of a bit of a slow burn. I think as well, there's been some criticism leveled at it that the level scaling feels off because there's an option in the time saver menu to buy double experience for the whole game.
Right.
And I wouldn't say that it's unfairly balanced, but I would probably say that if you were to buy that, you would probably have more fun for the whole game. It'd be a bit more of a power trip, a bit more of that Assassin's Creed power trip,
so
perhaps.
Like marketing.
But I don't think the game has been... I wouldn't go as far as to say the game has been kind of made worse because of it, but I don't know, I would be lying if I said that there wasn't something in the back of my mind that was like, I think the game would have been more fun if I'd have been earning double the experience and I'd have got, to a higher level quicker and unlocked some more interesting abilities quicker. And because it's not that you're overpowered by the end of the game, it's just that you have abilities that allow you to approach situations differently. It makes it more fun, more interesting. But I know there's been some criticism leveled at the time saver packs and whatever. I don't want to get into the weeds on that too much, but I kind of feel like it probably would have been more fun, but I wouldn't endorse it because the game was, I bought the gold edition, which was quite expensive anyway, so I didn't really feel like I was justified in buying even more time-saving content. It feels microtransaction-y and, things like that.
Is that the criticism level that basically is just DLC stuff again, right? It's just DLC criticism.
Basically, usually with Assassin's Creed, they release these time saver packs, which is like it uncovers things on the map, or it gives you resources to level up your ship or your character, or it, in this instance, gives you double experience, which means that you level up quicker. And the criticism is often that the game is, the experience grind is slow in order to push these microtransactions. And I do think that it is a little. I think that especially the last 10 levels, I'd say it felt like a grind. But there is tons of content in the game to give you the experience you need. And I actually felt like I grinded out the last 10 levels, but then ended up doing way more content that would have given me the experience I needed anyway. It was probably just my OCD, meaning that I wanted to get to level 50 before I progressed any further. So, yeah, that's a criticism that's often leveled. But I wouldn't say if it's affected the game's sort of in design or how much you enjoy it or anything like that. I just say that it's definitely a factor that's kind of an interesting thing to think about.
Yeah, I thought maybe I would have imagined that people would criticize it for certain people who maybe don't have as much time if they've got, a busy job, or some people have busy family life and stuff like that. So in a sense, they maybe sort of almost felt like they're being forced to pay more to get more out of the game, when maybe that should have been a difficulty level setting instead.
And I mean, it's one of those things where I think it comes down to the size of the game as well. Like, if the game, like the argument that's often leveled is that if the game is enjoyable enough, then you shouldn't want to speed up any element of it. So if leveling up was fun enough, then you wouldn't want to pay to do it quicker.
Yeah.
However, while that is a valid point, the translation can sometimes get lost if you don't want to play the same game for 150 hours. So it might be fun, but if it's so long, especially the sort of length that we're talking with this, I think it took me 90 hours or something to platinum. I understand people don't have 90 hours to put into it, so or don't want to put 90 hours into it. So it's an interesting topic anyway.
90 hours is a long time. Yeah, I mean, generally.
Yeah, I mean, for people who sleep.
Yeah.
So anyway, I've platinumed Assassin's Creed and thoroughly enjoyed it. I would recommend it. There's loads of DLC coming through it. I think the first DLC pack that's free, non-season pass DLC pack, actually dropped today for it. So there's tons of DLC coming. So I'm not done with it by a long way. I've got the season pass, and I'm waiting for the remasters and stuff. I'm super looking forward to that. But yeah, I definitely recommend it. It was good. Super interesting in terms of the lore as well. But I won't ruin anything. If you're into Assassin's Creed lore, and like, excuse me, I remember the worry I had before was that it was a prequel to the game that was supposed to be the Origins.
Okay.
Which is kind of weird, but they do quite a good job of still making it relevant to the Assassin's Creed lore overall. Even though,
because you said, but I mean, in the previous podcast, you were talking about how it's not really part of Assassin's Creed lore.
That was my worry, and initially what I thought, and then sort of the third act of the game, it's peppered throughout, but the third act of the game really does make a conscious effort to tie it in a little bit more. But it feels like an effort, if that makes sense. It feels like they had a really interesting idea for a setting and characters and story, and then they had to make an effort to tie it into Assassin's Creed lore, rather than it being the natural thing to do after Origins.
Wrapping it around there.
Yeah, which is kind of a weird one. But at least the effort was there. I appreciate that it was there. And I appreciate that it kind of worked. It sits in nicely. I just don't think I wouldn't want them to go any further back. I wouldn't want to go like...
It's just like Persians or something.
I think it would get completely lost. Yeah. So it'd be interesting to see where they go from here, actually. But yeah, so that was good. And then so that was Assassin's Creed. And then I obviously started Red Dead. Now, I feel like we'll have a chat about Red Dead throughout this podcast. We'll get into that.
Yep.
But it was interesting going from Assassin's Creed to Red Dead, because Assassin's Creed is very, very immediate. While it's a large open world and there's lots to do and it takes a long time to do everything, there's fast travel all over the place once you've unlocked it through viewpoints. There's you can get somewhere quite quickly. You don't have to worry about a lot of the things that are in something like Red Dead, which with Red Dead, there's like very little to no fast travel. You have to eat. You have to feed your horse. You have to clean your horse. You have to clean your weapons. So it's very, very it was almost jarring to sort of play a game that had been so sort of free roam and quick and instantly gratifying, to a game which really paces you down, right? So the start of Red Dead is very, very slow.
Yeah.
And I think the whole game is going to be slow, and I think the start is them saying, this is our pace. You're going at our pace now, and our pace is very slow.
Yeah.
So yeah, those are the kind of two. I mean, I haven't played tons of Red Dead, but yeah, basically my time's been spent finishing Assassin's Creed and then moving on to Red Dead. So yeah, I know you've been playing Red Dead as well.
Yeah,
so
I know that criticism has been levelled at it as well. The slow pace.
I wouldn't even call it a criticism necessarily. I'm not sure that it's a criticism.
Well, I think some people are treating it as that.
Personally, I should say.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I've been playing Red Dead as well. I mean, the thing about Red Dead is, well, I've been telling a lot of people about this recently, is really I've been playing it specifically for this podcast. In a way, even though I haven't had a lot of time over the last week or so. So I haven't got really that far in it.
No, me either.
But to be honest, I don't. Well, first of all, I don't think it's a 10 out of 10 game. I knew that it was going to be overhyped. They always are, right? Rockstar's games are pretty much overhyped. I don't think it's 10 out of 10 like certain websites or publications are suggesting. And that's not just from a subjective personal standpoint. I think generally it's not. I don't think it's quite as good as... I don't think I enjoy it as much as I do GTA 5, for example, if we're going to make that comparison between the two big sort of the behemoths of Rockstar's open world games. And I probably wouldn't have bought it were it not for the podcast.
Wow.
I think, yeah.
I mean, a bit of context, though, you're not a massive console gamer, and it's a huge console exclusive, right? So if it was on PC, you might have probably leaned more towards buying it with or without the podcast.
Yes,
would that
probably.
Be accurate?
But at the same time,
maybe
only,
not right
only by a small factor, I think, to be honest.
The thing, I haven't played enough of it to tell you whether I think it's 10 out of 10 or not. The first night, I've basically had 2 or 3 big sittings with it, and it's not even, I really haven't put the time in that I wanted, so I don't want to give like final thoughts or anything.
Yeah.
But the thing that's impressed me about it, so the first night, as I say, it was a bit jarring, and it's got a very slow opening, which might be a little to its detriment for some people, I think, because it's sort of almost, some of it seems almost needlessly slow.
Yeah.
Like there's ambience and world building, but sometimes I was very surprised at the decisions for sort of long sequences of traveling with no dialogue or very little dialogue and things like that. But the emergent gameplay that I've experienced has been some of the most impressive that I've seen, and I think that will be where it, sinks or swims.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of like the staple in a way. It's their hook, really. I mean, between that and GTA, I think the traveling aspect of it, because what I want to do in a Rockstar game is just fucking run around the open world.
Yeah,
I like the sandbox. That's what I like.
Yeah, it's not
about
that.
it. And that was all I wanted to do, is get into the fucking sandbox, and it took me like 5 fucking hours to get there or something. And it's just like, come on.
Even when the sandbox is there as well, it's not that, is it? It's not like it's easy to ride into a town and mess people up and then ride off, and then it's.
I found that out quite quickly. By trying to rob a bank. I mean, maybe I was going a bit over in my head here. Just got out of sort of tutorial area and then go straight to rob a bank on my own.
Nope.
But that didn't really work out too well, because I didn't realize there's a lawman in the bank as well. There's always a lawman in the bank. So I just went to the counter. I didn't even see he was in the corner. Didn't even see him there. Went to hold up the cashier, and I'm not used to the controls. I'm not really well versed in just the world itself in general. And try to rob the cashier. He's like, "Oh no, what the hell?" And then someone starts shooting me from the side, and I'm like, "Fuck!" It's a policeman essentially, so I have to shoot him. And then I couldn't rob the cashier again for some weird reason. I don't know why. Maybe there's something I'm misunderstanding about the way the mechanics worked. But anyway, a bunch of people heard me from outside, and then all stormed in. And there's no way out of the bank but the front door, because it's a small little bank in a random town. And so they just ended up shooting me to death, and that was that wasn't a great first experience.
I mean, it's weird, because you have to approach it. What I'm finding is you have to approach it like it's not actually, because what you tend to do naturally, what I tended to do anyway, was approach it like it was like any other Rockstar game, or like any other open world. So it's like, oh, it's going to be an amazing open world game, but really, it's more like a light simulator in terms of like a lot of elements of it, but it's just about, like, other than missions that you get from people or missions that you might find, it really isn't like, go to this checkpoint, do this, do these collectibles. Like normal open world games, they have the big map, and you do something to uncover the map, and then you can collect these things, or you can go and do these side missions or whatever. It's not really like that. It's designed completely to be emergent. So like last night I was playing it, and I found like I was in one of the first, after the opening, you kind of go to the first little town, and there was a question mark in one of the like buildings. So I went in there. It was a bar, and there was one guy slumped on the bar.
I think I know the one you're talking about,
and another one talking about him, saying that he's writing a book about this guy who slumped on the bar, right?
And this one,
and he's like, basically, the guy who's passed out is a gunslinger who is claiming to have been the greatest gunslinger who's ever lived. And this other guy is writing a book about him and is offering to give me half the proceedings to the book if I go and do his research for him, essentially. So that involves going and tracking down other gunslingers and talking to them. Okay, cool. So I do this. I ride out to the first gunslinger, and she's fucking miles away. Like, I'm riding for ages. I'm like, oh, she'll be there in a minute. No. And there's like, the map is not uncovered at all. It's all misted except where you go. So I don't know what I'm going to run into. I finally get to her. I do her little part of the mission. After that mission's done, just on the road, I'm searching bodies from people I've shot. And just on the road, sort of it's morning by this point. It's like a misty morning, and on the road, out of the mist comes a horse with a guy on the back who's slumped, like he's injured.
Okay.
On his own. He trots a little bit, and then when he gets to me, he falls off his horse and starts writhing in pain on the floor. So I'm like, what is this guy? So I speak to him, and he's like, please help me, I'm injured. And he's broken his arm when he falls off the horse. So I pick him up, and I put him on my horse, and he's like, take me to the doctor. And there's a doctor in a town nearby. So I ride him to the doctor. I take him off the horse. I put him, and I walk into the doctor's surgery, and the doctor's like doing paperwork. And I'm like, I need help here with this guy. And the doctor's like, oh, bring him this way. I have to take him out the back, put him in a chair. Bear in mind, this is not a mission. This just emergently happened.
Yeah.
I put him in the chair. The doctor says thank you to me and starts talking the guy down. The guy's like, my arm, it hurts. The doctor checks his arm and says, oh, it's broken. We're going to need to amputate. And then starts doing the procedure and says to me, you might want to leave because this is going to get messy. So I'm like, how far does this go? So in the end, I walked out of the surgery while he was doing this procedure. I could hear them. And I was like, right, okay, where am I? As I walk out of the surgery, another random NPC says to me, oh, do you want to contribute some money to the building we're building here, this youth centre? So I'm like, okay, so I contribute money to her. And she's like, thank you, we'll put up a plaque in your honour. I'm like, what the fuck is going on here? And then I start to sort of, okay, right, I need to get back to where I need to be. And then all of a sudden, another NPC says to me, oh, we need you to check something out on this train for me. Don't worry, the train won't move. So I get on the train to check it out, and the train starts moving. I end up in a gunfight on top of the train. And then I realise I'm on a moving train, like miles from my horse, miles from where I started, just on my own. And I'm like, how did it come to this? I was doing a mission. This emergent story has just taken me here. It's stuff like that whole story, like that will be different for everyone else. Like no one will find that. And I think every NPC in the game doesn't just do a routine. I think they actually they seem to actually be almost living and reactive, and do you know what I mean? Like they have jobs and things like that. You know,
I get that side of it. I think that's pretty cool for starters. And I can see that simply by removing the classic question mark above a person's head or the marker on the mini-map to show you a mission location makes it feel a lot more emergent, you know?
Yeah, but I'm not saying that it's not
well, right? Yeah. I'm not saying that's not the only way they've done it or a cheap way to do it, right? But it makes it feel so much more immersive. And you need direction sometimes, right? You always need some kind of direction. Like I want to follow the main story, for example, or how do I get there? Or I want to follow I just want to know where to go to do something. And you might follow that. But it is super cool that they've implemented a lot of these kind of emergent systems whereby they can spawn a rider on a horse within a particular location near you, and he'll come up to you and they'll start off this whole chain of events, and it won't be a sort of it won't be something that you as a premeditated mission that you're directed to. And
from what I understand as well, these emergent events are so frequent but also so versatile that it's not like a scripted event over and over again that's the same. So it's not like every time I'm out somewhere, some guy on the back of a horse is injured and I have to take him to the...
no, for sure.
Like in Spider-Man, for example, which is another amazing open world game, but in Spider-Man there's like crimes that occur and they're one of like 5 different crimes every time. And so it's like you got to stop a car or you've got to kill these guys or you've got... And so like it's not like that. It's like so emergent that,
It's like the hard-working way of... I'm not saying that Spider-Man is lazy in his mission design or anything like that, because I'm sure it's still fun. I haven't actually played it, but I know everybody seems to love it. But that's kind of like... It takes more effort to do that kind of immersion mission. You have to plan for a lot of eventualities, and you have to make the random elements of chance of meeting these people, for example, in certain locations, maybe at certain times, feel real enough, and make sure that the player doesn't feel like this is a rinse repeat scenario.
And I mean, I've had guys like lose their horse for their wagon. I've been ambushed as I was riding. A couple of guys asked me for their help, and then 6 guys jumped out of a hedge and ambushed me.
Yeah, that's cool.
Like, it's not. I don't even know how you would go about starting to design a system that did this. It's incredible, really. But it's almost like Spider-Man's approach is more traditional open world, and this is sort of a bit more. I don't know. Maybe it will be that this is the way it goes, and Spider-Man and other games like that will end up feeling a little dated because of this emergent. But it kind of isn't an open world game so much anymore. It's kind of a big open world where you can do what you want, but it doesn't have those elements, it's not like you don't have the power trip of being able to fast travel anywhere you wanted or do whatever you wanted whenever you wanted. Like, there are restrictions put on you, like you have to eat, you have to clean your guns or they'll jam, you have to take care of your horse. If your horse dies, you're fucked. I've lost my hat, which I'm pissed off about.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are losing their hats.
I've lost my hat, and do you know how much a hat is? It's like $20 minimum.
Yeah.
I haven't got $20. I've paid for a youth centre.
It depends where you go, but you can get the cheap ones. But I bought a worn flat cap for $5.
A flat cap. Well, I gave all my money to that bloody youth centre place, so I've got a plaque and no hat.
Like Mother Teresa of
great
fucking Red Dead.
But then, when I was given an option, some guy who'd seen me commit a crime, I killed him.
Yeah.
And there is a karma system in there as well. But I like things like when you want to when you want to have a beard, you have to grow your facial hair and then shave it.
We noticed that the other night.
Things like that. Like, I like that.
That's super cool that you have to do all that kind of stuff. I thought I'd decide to be kind of like just a bastard when I did the open world stuff. So just kind of going around robbing people. Now, I obviously way over my head in doing those activities, especially in the middle of a town somewhere. I thought, maybe I'll rob a train or something. How do I do that? Do I jump on the train, start holding people up? Can't shoot for shit, whatever. But the moment where I think I realized that it was a good system, or the moment I had success with that, I should say, is when I just decided to scope down, right, my sort of illegal activities, and I came across this
sort of build up to
I think it's like game development, right? Like think small first, let's scope small.
Yeah.
I came across a random ranch in the middle of nowhere, and I was like, there's nobody around here. I just got chased off this city, which is a whole other story I'll get into, by a bunch of lawmen. Managed to get far enough out of the city, and there's just a ranch in the middle of nowhere. Looked like just one guy there, and I can just rob this guy. Just totally just rob this guy right now. So, and he was already complaining that I was too close to his land and stuff like that. And he said, get off, or I'll get off my land, or there'll be trouble. And I got off the horse, and obviously there's actually an option to greet him and try and defuse the situation, which is also really, really cool.
Antagonize it. You can just attack him. Yeah, you can.
But I think I decided to point my gun at him, and then he pulled his gun, and then I shot him. But then another guy came out from the side. I didn't realize there's another guy there, so I shot him. But those were the only 2 guys there. So I was like, okay, right. And I was like, oh, okay. Let's just go loot this.
You can ransack the house,
this ranch now. So I looted it all out. But I think all the time I was thinking, I wonder if, because I don't know how the systems work. Are the lawmen still chasing me? Are they going to pull a search party in? Are they going to surround the area? I have no idea how deep these systems go.
Yeah.
Right? I have no idea how they work exactly. So I thought, well, fuck it. I'll just, I'll play it dangerous, right? I'm just going to loot this place as much as I can. Went to a barn, nearby. There's nothing in there. It's whatever. Came out of the barn, and there's this barking, and then there's, a red enemy thing on my mini map. I was like, what the fuck? Where's that enemy? It turns out it's the dog. It's the dog of the owner was barking at me and started was going to attack me. And as the dog was attacking me, there was a cart going past the ranch. Right. And I couldn't remember because I wanted to just punch the dog. but I couldn't remember how the fucking controls were to punch the dog. So I just pulled my pistol out and shot the dog. But the guy in the car saw me shoot the dog, and then was like, "Hey, I saw what you did there," and like he's a member of Peter or something. You know, like he's running, shooting me, and I was like, "Oh fuck! Right, I got to shoot this guy now." So I started shooting him, and I didn't kill him. So I was like, oh, "Fuck it!" I wonder if, because I didn't know whether like is he going to run away, because you get that whole witness system, right?
Yeah, he goes.
Is he going to run away? Maybe he's going to tell somebody. But I thought, well, also we're in the middle of nowhere. How far is he going to get? So I just got on my horse, tried to chase him down, shot him, and then out of nowhere, 6 bounty hunters came.
Yeah, they've been hunting you the whole time.
Yeah. And I didn't realize, because I didn't know. Again, I don't know whether because I had this huge bounty on my head from previously, like a $250 bounty, partly from trying to rob this bank the same bank, by the way, 3 times. That would be the case. So they hunted me down and killed me. But so that was kind of like. That was probably the first moment where, like, I kind of had success in doing the kind of open world stuff that I really wanted to do, and B, I also learned a lot more about the systems and got a nice bit of like emergent gameplay out of it. Even though I died because they surrounded me, the bounty hunters all surrounded me at the end.
Well, I mean,
like, they ringed me as well, which is like really kind of clever. Just ringed me and.
Well, I mean, there's this. That's the thing, though. Things happen differently. So I've been in a situation where I've killed somebody and I've been looting the body, and somebody's seen me looting the body and run off to get a policeman. I've seen situations where I've been looting a body that I didn't kill, that I just found, and someone's run off to get a policeman because they've thought that I've killed them.
Yeah.
And I've been in situations where I've been looting a body, or I've killed someone, and that person has just run away, or has been like, "I won't say anything, mister." Like, so there's obviously like, it's obviously designed in such a way that it feels real, even though it's just a collection of potentials, I guess.
Yeah. I'm sure it is.
But like that's what I think is going to be the sink or swim for it. And so I think if you approach it like a normal, and I actually think it's going to put a lot of people off, because I know it's sold incredibly well, but I can't imagine a lot of people, because the fact that it's sold so well means that a lot of people who aren't like us and don't sleep instead of playing we just play games all the time, right? So we're super into the ecosystem, the gaming ecosystem. Obviously, people who buy GTA sometimes aren't. They buy it, you know, it transcends that popularity. Yeah. I can imagine the start of this game putting off your average Rockstar fan.
Yeah.
Which I think is kind of bold by Rockstar, but
I mean, you know, I would have if it hadn't been for the podcast, I may have even like refunded it or something.
Yeah, exactly. It almost put you off, and you're not a big Rockstar fan, but you were expecting something from Rockstar.
Well,
right?
I am actually a big Rockstar fan, but I think I probably agree with a lot of other. This is another point I wanted to make. Is I agree with a lot of other people that I've read their opinions on. Is that I'm not as into the Wild West mythos and the sort of the culture of it as well, and anyone I think who's a non-American, this may be more pertinent for them as well. You know, like it. Just because, and also because I think GTA gives you a more familiar setting for a start. It gives you, I would say, culturally, like a wider variety of activities. It also gives you a wider variety of weapon systems as well than Red Dead, potentially, because you're essentially reduced to
can you carry 2
revolvers,
weapons, right?
carbine repeaters, shotguns, and rifles, right?
And you can only
carbine
carry
repeaters and rifles. You may as well put them in the same bag if you want to be sort of, I don't know, rude about it. Really.
And you can only carry 2 weapons in Red Dead at once, right?
Yeah, on your person.
On your person, which is, again, not like GTA. GTA, you can have them all on. You can have rocket launchers on you.
Yeah.
But I think the other big thing that is missing, that's the wrong term, but like that's different, is that what you have in GTA is satire.
Yes, that's it.
And there's no satire in Red Dead. GTA is a satirical look at modern American culture. Yeah. And Red Dead, especially the second one, is a narrative in a somewhat accurate history. It pays homage to the history, not satirizing it. It doesn't satirize it really. Yeah. Or if it does, it's very slight.
Yeah.
You know, the whole point, you only have to put the radio on in GTA to be like, it's spouting some, you know, satirical monologue about American culture, about Western culture in general, whereas this is a lot more, it takes itself a lot more seriously, you know.
It touches on a lot of issues as well that are, you know, prominent issues at the time that also transcend, are still issues today. There's issues of race and things like that they kind of tackle, or, you know, attempt to tackle. Native American Indians as well, that ties into too, and like the various characters in the gang, in Dutch's gang, that come from this sort of like mishmash hodgepodge of sort of.
Interestingly as well, they're not very likable. And what's narratively, I'm always interested in the narrative of these games, and I really like, obviously, so Red Dead Redemption is actually a sequel, mainly in title only, to Red Dead Revolver. But they don't share any kind of, you know, other than the setting, really, there's not much that's the same about them. But it was interesting they called it Red Dead Redemption 2. Now, my assumption would be this is a marketing thing. You know, Red Dead Redemption was extremely popular. But, I mean, I'm not very far into the game, but I don't know what the redemption arc is for your character. His name Arthur Morgan. That's his name, isn't it? The guy
Arthur Morgan. Yeah.
It doesn't seem to me like he's seeking redemption. You know.
Right. Yeah. Well,
the interesting thing about Red Dead Redemption, I know it's focusing on the title a little too much, but the whole point was, Marsden was looking for redemption, right, for his previous life, and he never. And then it's all about the redemption of his family, and it goes on and on. But like, the theme of the game doesn't appear to be redemption to me at all. It appears to be about cowboys dying out, the age of the cowboy dying out, and this group of ragtag guys knowing that their time is limited, right? Knowing that their days are numbered.
Yeah.
And kind of always going for that one big score.
I mean, I don't think, who knows, because I know both of us haven't really.
Early days.
It's early days, so there may well be that. Yeah. And I think you're right, certainly at least about marketing, because it would have, it's kind of an obvious choice to call it that, whether or not the title ties into the narrative. I don't know whether that is kind of. I also don't think that's probably not the kind of thing that is on your average gamer's mind in terms of like whether the name ties into the narrative. I don't think it's.
No, and it's not really. I don't mean to focus on the name because it's just the name, but I mean redemption is a big theme.
Yeah,
it's a theme throughout the first Red Dead, and taking the word out of the title or not. I guess I'm trying to illustrate that it seems to me that Marsden's arc is different. Marsden's arc is different to like Arthur's not the same person. Like he's not the same kind of character, even though John's in. Obviously,
he's in it. Yeah,
he's in it, but it's the narratively I'm interested in where it goes because all bets are off really.
Yeah,
for that period and those kind of characters.
Yeah, I think the period's interesting. Anyway, well, I mean, like I say, I think the period's interesting in terms of its history. It seems to have kind of like it's got those sort of touchstones of history. They hear people talking about the Spanish-American Civil War. The Spanish-American War, the war in the Philippines as well that's happening right then, and how like America had started, moving away from that sort of like isolationist nation to more of maybe, almost more of the America we know today, even though for the first sort of half of the 20th century they were still, determined to be quite isolationist.
Yeah,
right?
and there's a perception as well that they were becoming more quote unquote civilized. Yeah. There was more civilization, and the Wild West was kind of closed. The frontier had ended; they'd reached the other coast, and the frontier had closed, and so it left a lot of people out in the cold. A lot of people like Arthur and his gang, who knew only one type of life that is coming to an end, or is really ended by this point for a lot of people, and that's even more prevalent in the first game, which takes place after this one.
Yeah, I think also what's also interesting about that period is that I found myself thinking about that period of time, but here in the UK, and the difference in terms of culture and the way people live here in 1899 compared to the culture and the way people live in America in 1899, right? Like there's a pretty huge divide there between Western, or most of Europe actually, including, up to Russia, than the US. But depending on what part of the US you go to, right?
It's interesting. It actually ties into what we were talking about earlier as well, because I guess it's also worth noting that GTA is effectively made by an English team.
Yeah.
Whereas this is made by a predominantly American team.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, Rockstar North worked a lot on it.
Oh, actually, they've changed it now, haven't they? So they all work
Rockstar
together.
North worked. I don't think Rockstar North did anything else. So
no, I don't. Well, I just mean I thought that predominantly the writing was done for, like, the satirical stuff was kind of coming from Rockstar North more than it for GTA more than it was for this.
Yeah, potentially.
But I mean, that's probably I'm maybe grasping a little. But there's definitely like you say, a cultural difference.
Yeah,
and a noteworthy and it ties back into that lack of satire.
You think about like the Victorian age and the Industrial Revolution in England, and then this is like just post that, right? Pretty much, give or take, just turn of the century, right?
Mm-hmm.
There is and you think about that period of history. There's quite a stark difference and contrast and difference in attitudes as well. It's also really interesting to see that sort of like mix of cultures in America as well. The sort of the Germans and the
Irish,
quite a lot of Germans and Irish there.
Yeah, I mean, also what you've got to remember is at this point, America changed very, very quickly. Like you're talking in the 1850s, it was much more Wild West ranch driven. Or even a little earlier than that, the early 1800s. But 50 to 60 years later, 1910, 1912, you're talking like full industrialization, skyscrapers, and all kinds of it changed very, very quickly. And it's interesting that I think the whole point especially in Red Dead 1 and 2 is it's about the people who were kind of left behind by those changes, right?
They even talk about, it kind of almost educates you about the sort of origins of the term itself, the Wild West, and they touch on this, the gang initially sort of talk about not going east and going west. They don't want to go east into civilization, which is obviously sort of the New York City, right?
It's spreading towards the west, right? It's spreading across the frontier.
Yeah,
shrinking the Wild West, quote unquote.
And this brings me back to when I was traversing the world after the sort of tutorial section, and I thought, screw it, I'm just going to go on a bit of a rampage or whatever, something like murderous robbing rampage. Got on a train and went to another town, and this is where I tried to rob that bank like 3 times and failed, right? But then afterwards, I had no money because I'd bought a load of stuff for a gun, then decided to hold someone else up, and the fine was $250. Oh, maybe like $200, whatever. I didn't have enough to pay the fine. I had like $2 to my name, so I couldn't even buy a train ticket anywhere. But I passed by a train track, and I got on my horse and jumped onto the train. I was like, screw it, let's just see where it goes. Jumped onto the train and and there was a couple of people complaining in the carriages, like, hey, get off there. But I jumped onto the top of the roof of the carriage and they couldn't see me anymore. So they're like, okay, well, this guy must have gone. And I ended up in this massive town, Saint Denis.
Saint Denis, yeah.
Saint Denis, Saint Denis, whatever
it's basically New Orleans, right? It's that
yeah. And then as I was coming into it, a couple of policemen kind of noticed me on the roof and were like, hey, get down from there. And like my wanted bar started to go up, but then I managed to sort of escape. And suddenly I was in this huge area of like civilization, right? Which is this kind of stuff that the gang had been talking about, right? Or like I assumed the gang had been talking about. You're in this much bigger hub area that reminds you of more of a European style city at the time. Like they had the magic lamp theaters and stuff, and they had the gambling halls, and they had the fancy sort of clothing shops and that kind of thing.
But that's the thing. So that quote unquote more civilized society doesn't allow for you to run around shooting everybody and run around robbing banks.
No.
So is what's interesting, because the game makes it very difficult, if not impossible, for you to do that.
Yeah. I mean, I find it very difficult in general to just be a twat, right?
Yeah,
and I thought, like, maybe I just need to do some more. Maybe I need to do some more story missions. Maybe there's something I need to unlock, like a hideout or something. Because I think or like there's weapon systems, weapon mechanics that I don't know about that I had to figure out before then. But I'm not sure that is actually the case. I think it is just kind of. I think it's more well simulated.
I think it's intentional. It's just it's making a point of saying, the Wild West is essentially ending, and people like that who want to go around robbing people and stuff, there's no place for them in this new world, because there are even in the first Red Dead, the federal, the Bureau of Investigation, basically really early FBI stuff that contact you at the start of the game. Like these things didn't exist before. There was no investigation if people were murdered out in the sticks, on the plains, or on ranches. It's
the Wild West, right? The free open country. And it's like the open world. I can see why it's a choice for Rockstar to do, but and in that town as well, I noticed the big factories, right? The industrialization of it all, and funny enough, I already had a bounty on my head, and a couple of kids were like, "Oh, look at this guy pretending to be cowboy," and I'm like, "Fuck you!" And so, like, I antagonized one of them, and he was like, "Oh no, don't! I don't want any trouble, Mister." Ran off. Obviously, he told somebody else.
Yeah.
And a guy came, and I've been kind of laying low for a while. Like, I thought, as long as I avoid the police, because earlier in the game, I just walked straight past the policeman while I had a $250 bounty, and he recognized me, and then he chased me down alleys, and they ended up shooting me to death. So I was trying to lay low, and then someone saw me, and then, like, they ran off to get somebody else, and I thought, fuck, I better, like, scar.
But that's the thing. So like, it's built on these stories, right? This is what you're chasing. That emergent gameplay.
Yeah, and that was super cool. But I still have my. I mean, we talked a lot about why it's good, but I do have my reservations about a few of the things, and a few of the. Generally, just things like UI and controls schemes. I think maybe because I'm not so much of a console gamer.
No, they were weird in the first Red Dead as well at first.
Yeah.
They're kind of odd.
I mean, things like they show you little tutorial hints right at the start of the game. Things like, oh, this is how you move your horse, right? You got to hold forward and then you tap the X button, right? If you're on PlayStation, whatever, A button if you're on Xbox probably. But then that notification pops up for a short amount of time when you try, also while you're trying to concentrate on other stuff, the story and
people are talking at this point
the world,
and stuff.
Right? And then it goes away, and then there's seemingly no way to access that information again. Right? Even in the help menu, the horses section in the help menu, there is no information on that. Like,
this is the thing. I had to Google how to manually save.
Yeah. I heard about this one as well.
Like, I had no fucking idea. No idea. Like, I was there for ages. And you go into the story menu?
Yeah, story, yeah.
What?
Yeah.
What?
And I didn't even know there was a save option until people were complaining about that very thing at work recently. And I was like, because I'd left my PS4 in like rest mode, I think.
Yeah.
So I never had to bother sort of like turning it off. Otherwise, I probably would have lost a load of progress.
Yeah. I was like, right, I've done something here. Like, no wanted level. I've just done this mission. I want to save.
Yeah.
I thought at first I must just be an autosave. I was like,
that's what I thought.
No, it can't be. And then, I had to Google it. So yeah, there's obviously some, and I agree. The tooltips pop up way too quickly when way too much is going on. Like, you remember, there's a part at the start. I won't spoil anything, but there's a part at the start where you have to basically, you get into a fight with some wolves.
Oh yeah.
And like the wolves are coming, and you haven't got time to.
Yeah.
Like, dick about. Like, what? How do I ride this and shoot at the
same
like?
time,
how do I change? Like, I don't like. And because it is its own system, like, as in, the buttons are not the same as. They're not always the logical choice, right?
Yeah,
like,
it's not a driving game.
yeah. So like it is annoying at first. I definitely would concede that. Yeah.
Yeah. That's the thing. I mean, I like the idea of a system that lets you that lets the horse sort of just keep going while you have the time to swing around and like shoot. That makes a lot of sense in terms of that. And it's reasonably realistic, so you don't lose as much sort of immersion or sense of verisimilitude or that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I don't, and maybe it's also because this is new. This system is, apart from if you played obviously Red Dead Redemption 1, but that system is quite set apart and quite new compared to a driving game or GT or any driving game where you're used to that control scheme. But at the same time, it just seemed it didn't seem particularly intuitive, the way they use controls.
Yeah, and sometimes as well, I don't know if you found this, I find myself in a situation that I've never been in before where I need to react, and I don't remember the controls, or the controls haven't been taught to me. Like when I got jumped by 6 guys, I panicked and was like, how do I change? Okay, I got my gun out, and then I started shooting. I was like, what's it called? Deadeye or whatever it's called?
Deadeye, yeah.
And I was like, okay, I'll try and do that, and then that didn't work. And then I was dead.
Yeah.
I was dead before I even knew what was going on. That might just be my improficiency.
But no, I managed to activate Deadeye once, despite like eating a bunch of stuff, because they're 2 separate systems for health, stamina, and Deadeye.
Three
core,
separate systems.
And then there's the actual value that it is.
Yeah, so there's the value which goes up with your level, I think.
Yeah.
And that is like a meter.
Max,
that is like a meter that depletes and recharges, and then your core dictates how quickly that recharges. So if you're hungry, for example, your health core and your stamina core will decrease, which means if you use stamina or you get shot, then it won't recharge fast. It will recharge really slowly, or it will stop recharging altogether.
You use tonics and or food to kind of replenish like either system.
Same with your horse.
Yeah. So I haven't fully explored those systems properly or get it like wrapped around in my head. So I'm like, do I have Deadeye? I don't know. Am I able to use Deadeye? I have no idea.
There's also Eagle Eye now for hunting.
Okay.
As well, which is the same meter, I think. But
okay,
you use it for when you're hunting. Yeah.
There's your horse stamina as well and that kind of stuff. So yeah.
Also, sorry.
Well, I was going to say that the thing about controls, getting the controls wrong. The first time I catastrophically got the controls wrong was it wasn't that bad really, but was when I was on a side mission. Some guy wanted some help with his horses to get them back.
Yeah,
and I wanted to help him, but my because you're supposed to hold L2 to start a conversation, but my fucking casual console gamer hands hit R2, which meant I just jumped on him and pinned him down and started beating him.
Attacked him.
Yeah.
So, do you know how to, occasionally I get this message that's like, your horse is dirty. Brush it.
Okay.
Or clean it to make sure it doesn't,
assuming you need a horse brush.
And I'm like, I can't brush my horse.
In case
so then I went to 3 shops.
Dirt.
And was like, there's no horse brush here. So I have no idea. I'm going to have to Google it. I have no fucking idea how to clean my damn horse. I tried going into a lake with him for a while. And he cleaned him a bit. But, I want to be able to brush him, man. I want to take care of my horse.
I'm assuming, you just have to buy a brush.
I couldn't find one in any... I went to 3 shops in 3 different towns. I couldn't find a fucking... Also, I don't know how to rename the horse. I know you can. But
can you?
Yeah, because I've seen people online do it.
Because I've heard some great names already. I wanted to name all my horses like the horse racing episode on the Day-to-Day. If you remember that, which is Christ Chin or Sinead O'Connor.
I think there is...
Alf Ramsey's Porn Dungeon.
I think there is a filter because I remember someone I follow on Twitter, I think it was another podcast or something, was tried to name their horse Fuckface and the game wouldn't let them or something.
Horsey McHorseface.
Yeah. Crazy. But
let the internet decide.
I think that...
Epileptic Fridge Boy.
I think that we will discuss Red Dead more in the coming weeks.
Yeah, because we spent quite a lot of time.
I'm definitely gonna finish it, and initial impressions sound to me like I'm enjoying it a little more than you.
But I think it's growing on me a lot.
And also
the last time I played it, I had quite a lot of fun with it.
And also I would have mirrored a lot of your criticisms the first time I played it, I think, but I think it's an adjustment thing.
I think it's an adjustment. We're kind of spoiled in that we are, we play a lot of games, and so when we see a system that maybe we're not as used to, sometimes it becomes a criticism. Like things like controls are a big thing, right? Whereas actually, and I think we should, especially as developers as well, we always need to be more well aware of that, especially when you're building games for new players, people who aren't used to games, and you have to be aware of that and how you make that quick to learn and still fun.
Also, I think that there's a genuine attempt here to iterate and push the open world genre into new areas, and that may come with teething problems, right? Or so I mean, I'm not saying that that's necessarily the case, but I think you've got to have an open mind when it comes to actually what this game is doing. And the other problem with hype, as you were saying at the start of your little review, that hype unfortunately grants certain expectations. Yeah. And I think with this, especially, the expectations, the game's not worse than I expected. It's just different. It's just like, it's not Red Dead 1 in HD. Can we just say, though, it looks fucking beautiful.
Oh, yeah, actually.
Incredible, absolutely incredible.
One other point I wanted to make about that was that it does look amazing. And at least from a sort of developer standpoint, you can tell, at least it looks like, the way they're doing it is they're doing a lot of quite clever stuff with draw distance culling. Oh, at least that's what it looks like to me. I don't know how true that is, because particularly in the start, when they've got all this really nice dynamic lighting going on, but they've got a lot of snow and fog
right in front of you,
that limits the they're able to put a lot of limits your background view distance, right? So they can do a lot more detail in the foreground. But I mean, at least that's what it looks like. But that theory doesn't really hold up when you get to the sort of brighter areas where they're doing, a daylight,
day and night cycle, dynamic weather
top of
effects.
top of a hill somewhere. Yeah. But I think they're probably just doing like really nice, really nice LOD work and like really nice mip mapping work, so that there's kind of minimal noticeable pop in of like lower detail meshes and like lower detail textures.
I'd also say it's got bugs. I've noticed some weird bugs and stuff, and some like more like aesthetic stuff and glitches and things like that. Bottles floating and items not being where they should be and things, but the physics and stuff all seem really like the snow physics and all of that sort of stuff, the fire and the lighting,
leaving
and
trails in the snow, which is not only impressive graphically but from a gameplay standpoint as well, and as an emergent gameplay standpoint in terms of tracking other animals or
and
other,
people,
as well is like top notch,
So I think we'll talk more about it as we play more, but that's it's a very high level, preliminary Red Dead impressions.
Because I don't think either of us want to judge it too much at all, because we haven't put enough time to it. That would be unfair, really.
So, other than Red Dead, have you been playing anything else?
Well, I have been playing Hitman, Codename 47.
So Hitman 1, as in not 2016, as in Hitman,
no, as in the original.
When did it come out?
2002.
I'd say earlier. I'd say 2000.
Maybe. Oh, actually, you might be right.
I'd say,
yeah, you might be right. I'm going to look it up because.
Careful. Codename 47.
Yeah.
2000.
2000, you're right. Okay.
November
Hitman
2000.
Codename 47, which I think, I know, the thing is, I know we've talked a lot about both Assassin's Creed and actually a fair bit of Hitman in almost every episode, partly because
you love
Hitman
coming
out.
Because I love Hitman into every episode.
I love Hitman, and also my girlfriend was playing Hitman Codename 47, which is why I started playing it, and also because the second one's coming out, and I wanted to. And it's a pure example, a good example, I should say, of how far a series has come. Right? That sounds like I'm gonna just take a massive shit on the first one, right? And there is so much wrong with the first one. Like this, it's so fucking clunky and so, I think, of that era. But there is also so much stuff that's super cool and sets the scene for not only just the other Hitman games, but also a bunch of others as well.
Am I right in thinking that Contracts was like a loose remake of some of the missions?
Yeah, I think so, but that's the one I've hardly played.
Quite liked Contracts.
Yeah, Contracts was. It was one of the lower rated ones, not quite as much as Absolution, but
that's the worst rated.
Yeah,
I think.
yeah, and for partly because they just diverged too much from the general.
It's the Splinter Cell Conviction.
Yeah,
of Hitman,
exactly.
Right?
They diverged from
and I like Splinter Cell Conviction, but it's not Splinter Cell.
Yeah,
you know,
exactly.
I mean, that's sort of the...
Yeah, they diverged too much from the non-linear experimental assassination and went to a more sort of like tightly scripted view with Absolution. But Absolution wasn't the one I was playing. Codename 47, which is like, oh fucking hell, where do I even start? I don't know. Maybe I'll start with the good stuff, right? The good stuff. That opening level, which was also a demo for Hitman Codename 47, which I don't know. Have you played it?
I've played Codename 47.
Yeah,
I've played it a very long, like when it came out.
Right. Do you remember the first level, which was the sniper mission at the top of a building, the roof of a building?
No, I don't remember it.
And I think also you have to appreciate it as well. You have to understand what was around at the time and how this
contextualize it.
Why this was really good. What it did really, really well is, first of all, it offered you the chance to be an assassin, like a pure assassin, right? Like this is the aim of the game. It's not like some kind of military game where there's an assassination mission. You know, this is about you being an assassin, right? In every sense of the word. The first mission is a mission where you have to shoot a triad gang member in Hong Kong to kind of spark a war between two rival gang members to sort of try and get you closer to one of the big sort of bosses, right? And it just oozes atmosphere and ambience.
Yeah.
And especially for the time, because you start off like the pace of it is meant to be slow, which is completely different as well to what was happening around the time. I mean, like Deus Ex was 2000, right?
Yeah.
You can kind of see this, but Deus Ex was also very highly rated. And it's got this really great music and audio, and the mission itself is really, really simple. Like there's a car arrives outside a park. You have to take out the triad gang leader, and the general method for this is to walk up to a building, get a lift to like an outside lift to the roof of the building, and use a sniper rifle to kill him.
Yeah.
Right. Which simple kind of setup, right? But it's got such like great, like I said, like music, but also the way in which you carry out this mission and also there's so much sort of slower pace. So you're just this bald guy with a dark suit on and the briefcase with the sniper rifle in, and you sort of walk slowly up to this lift and you take it to the top. And the thing probably that did it for me as well, that mission, is just the reveal of the sniper rifle, like opening the suitcase, this like touchstone moment where you open the suitcase and you put the sniper rifle together, and then you kind of wait silently for this, for your target to arrive, and then
it's kind of become iconic for the series now.
Yeah.
Like, that's why there's a sniper challenge released with every Hitman now.
Yeah. Well, they're also bringing the briefcase back in Hitman 2.
I mean, it's been a feature, though, right, on and off since.
It wasn't really much of a sort of thing in Hitman 2016, though. Like, it wasn't.
No, but it was in
sniper rifle in a case.
It was in Blood Money, and more so in Blood Money, and and 2 Contracts.
But it makes you feel incredibly cool to be this hitman on top of a building with this, huge sniper rifle in a case, this sort of discreet hitman. Now, after you kill the guy, a helicopter flies over and you have to kind of like run out of get back down the lift and run out, and then you do the next mission. But it's really good for that kind of stuff. So it's ambience atmosphere, like just this feeling of like the power trip of being the sort of man in the shadows, right? Is pulling the strings. But it falls down on a number of other things. For one thing, the controls, which are just weird. W is run, S is walk.
What?
Yeah. X is to go backwards.
What the fuck does that mean? A and D are left and right?
Turning left and right, not strafing left and right.
Right.
Yeah.
What? That means you can't do anything in a hurry.
Z and C are strafing left and right, and Q and E are leaning.
That's fucking mad.
Yeah. But they're customizable, so it's not like a...
Has it got control pad support?
I doubt it very much.
I mean, I wondered if it was...
I had to change my desktop resolution just to get it to run.
Oh, my God.
So, yeah. It's also just like really, really... its systems aren't... Like a lot of games, I think, at that time as well, like the first Splinter Cell, for example, its systems aren't really well communicated to the player like they are in Hitman 2016. Like, in Hitman 2016, you know if you're trespassing. You know if your disguise is going to fail with certain people. You know that if you kill a certain person in a certain area, then that person could be found, and you kind of can tell what to do in a situation where bodies are found and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
In the first one, there's a lot of just trial and error, and this makes it even worse by the fact that there really isn't a save system in missions, right? So if you fail a mission, you kind of have to start again. But there is, however, a checkpoint system within each mission. I think the larger missions maybe only have them. So it's the final triad-based mission, which is the first set of like missions. There's a checkpoint system where if you die, you start again from the start point,
right?
But your progress is still saved up to a certain point. So the people you've killed are still dead, right? The sub-objectives of the mission, if you've accomplished them, are still accomplished, right? So then you just have to go. But certain things like remain. So certain like just weird things still remain. So a guard I think this is how it works as well. Again, I'm not sure, which is maybe one of its flaws. A guard who spotted you, who shot at you, maybe he was the one who killed you, but you didn't kill him. And if you die, then you start again. He will spot you again, the same guy. And just him, not like a collector. He wouldn't have told the other guards. All the other guards will be fine with you walking around. But
he'll already know.
He'll know who you are, yeah. Whereas in Hitman 2016, like, it's usually based on like a collection of like those... A collection of security people within a certain class, right? So, like, those higher level guards will know about you, or like those guards within a certain area. But even then, Hitman 2016 doesn't work like that, because if you die, and you either have to load a previous save or you start again from the beginning. So it's got this kind of like weird system where
it's just old. I think
it's just it's old, and it reminded me a bit of the first Splinter Cell, where you don't know whether, if you're going to climb up a pipe to get on top of a building, whether you're going to climb on it or you're just going to jump in the air and land, making a noise, and the guards are going to come and get you. There's a lot of stuff that it doesn't really communicate well to the player. Like, it doesn't really... and things like dragging a body to put them somewhere, like, is this hidden? I don't know. You can't put them in a dumpster like you can in...
Yeah, and it's one of those things as well that, like, it's kind of only it's become such a problem because we're spoiled by how much better it works now. Like, I remember the first Splinter Cell being hard, but I don't remember it being hard because the game was getting in my way like that. But going back and playing it now, you're like, oh my God.
Yeah. I think there's there's a counterpoint to that, which is that actually the game is designed for you to discover these systems, or the game is designed to be more immersive by deliberately hiding those systems from you, right? You're like, well, I don't know whether this guard going to see this hidden body. I don't know. Yeah. Whereas in Hitman 2016, you hide him in a dumpster. It's like nobody's going to find him. Definitely nobody's going to find him 100%. Whereas, but I don't think that's the way it was designed. Like I don't think like Hitman Codename 47, for example, was designed in a way where you hide a body and the designers were thinking, we want the player to feel a little bit of trepidation and fear about their actions because they don't really know what will happen, right?
Yeah.
But I don't think that's the case for Codename 47. It's just like, yeah, it's hilarious to play.
I take it you haven't beaten it again. You just played it a little bit.
No, I haven't beaten it.
Are you planning on it?
I'll try. I do remember there's a mission in Cuba, like a jungle mission, which is also, they've just announced a jungle mission for Hitman 2, which is really cool. But you had to assassinate like a sort of Colombian drug, sort of Pablo Escobar type, right? And he's got loads and loads and loads of health, turns out. So you can sneak into his compound, like silently take out the guards, and at some point you get armed with this huge like light machine gun, and he's in his little office room at the back. It's all like almost like a Scarface type figure.
Right, yeah.
Open the door and you're just pumping bullets into him, like bullet after like 2 clips, hundreds of bullets into this guy, and he's not fucking dying.
That's so weird.
Yeah.
Such a bizarre design choice.
Yeah.
To be like, let's just give him loads like he's a boss.
There's moments like in one of the Triad missions, for example, where they just take influence from popular culture. It's basically a Godfather setup. Right? The policeman meeting a Triad gang member at a restaurant, and there's a toilet in the back, and you can go to the restaurant.
Yeah.
You drop the toilet. You drop the toilet. You drop the toilet in the gun. You drop the gun in the toilet. Except because it's like, an old game, you don't hide the gun in the toilet. You just drop it in on the floor of the bathroom.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah. And then go and kill him afterwards. But yeah, it's super clunky.
So is that all? Is that all you've been playing? Before we move on to the news, we should get to the news soon.
We should probably get to news.
Yeah.
I probably have a lot more to say about it, but I failed to prepare for this section properly.
Well, I'm sure that it's going to take you months to finish because it's so fucking awkward and difficult. So I'm sure we'll come back to it next week or whenever. So I guess it's the news. The news. Slightly less news this week than last week, but nonetheless. Now, if you remember, was it last week we spoke about the PlayStation Classic? Or was it the week before? I don't remember.
Yeah, no. I
remember the PlayStation Classic, the mini.
Yeah.
The games list has been announced. Yay for it. Got announced, I think, yesterday, day before maybe. The games listed, the 20 games you get pre-installed are Battle Arena Toshiden, Cool Borders 2, Destruction Derby, Final Fantasy VII, Grand Theft Auto, Intelligent Cube, Jumping Flash, Metal Gear Solid, Mr. Driller, Oddworld Abe's Odyssey, Rayman, Resident Evil Director's Cut, Revelations Persona, Ridge Racer Type 4, Super Puzzle Fighter 2 Turbo, Siphon Filter, Tekken 3, Tom Clancy's Rainbow Six, weird, Twisted Metal, and Wild Arms.
Okay.
So we knew about Wild Arms, we knew about Tekken 3, we knew about Final Fantasy VII, we knew about Jumping Flash, and we knew about Ridge Racer. So
of those games, though, because you were talking about the lack of analog controls on the controllers that come with it.
It answers our Metal Gear Solid question.
Well, yeah.
Which is that it can be played without the analog sticks. But it's going to play notably worse without the analog sticks, I would think.
Yeah.
So, what do you think of those games? I mean,
I mean, I don't know. I'm probably not going to buy one. Like, not. I mean, I know Siphon Filter. I played Siphon Filter. That's good. That's on there. It's like a classic. Some of these games I haven't even played, so I don't really know them much.
So this is the thing, right? So we knew it would never be the list that everyone thought of. I'm very surprised that there's no Gran Turismo, because that's Sony owned, right? So why that's not on there is baffling to me. Like what? Why have you put Mr. Driller but not?
Yeah,
but not like. And I mean, Mr. Driller may be a fine game, but like, this is supposed to be the PlayStation classic, classic PlayStation. No Tomb Raider.
Yeah, Tomb Raider. Yeah.
Like strange. I mean, but again, some of this will be licensing. But that's why I'm confused about no GTA, because they own that license.
No Gran Turismo, you mean?
Yeah, sorry, there is GTA. Grand Theft Auto is on there. No Gran Turismo, I should say. Which is strange, but I mean,
Grand Theft Auto. It's an interesting one.
Yeah, I just
like the first one.
I don't think. I mean, I want pre-order, but I don't think I'm going to buy it. I think I'm going to cancel my pre-order, but not specifically because of these games. Really, one, it's quite expensive. Two, I kind of wanted it to have a couple of games on there that I had never been able to play, and there are a few, like Revelations Persona. I don't think's ever come out in this country, but I think they should have lent into that more. Maybe put Chrono Cross on it or something.
Yeah.
But also, I'm just sort of underwhelmed by the package.
Yeah.
90 quid, $100 for these games, many of which you can get on PlayStation 3's PSN for a couple of quid.
It doesn't. I mean, it doesn't particularly interest. Do you know if there's a big is there a lot of interest for it?
I have no idea how the pre-orders are. I know that they're probably not doing Nintendo numbers, because when the NES and SNES minis came out, the pre-orders were sold out inside of hours, and people were waiting on second, third batches. And I know that Nintendo are known for that kind of shortage thing that they do, like the fake shortage, or that's what people call it. But they don't. They're known for doing smaller batches than Sony, but you can still pre-order one of these things, and you're probably going to be able to just buy one on launch.
Yeah.
The general consensus I've got from people, I don't know too many people who are as big a Sony fans as I am, but the few that I know are not enamored by it, and I'm not enamored by it, and I'm a pretty big Sony player, Sony's the ecosystem I'm in. So
Nintendo seems to. I mean, I think Nintendo's games just seem to be more appropriate for that kind of platform.
Do you think it's that Nintendo's are more appropriate? It has more appropriate IP, or do you think that PlayStation's choice of IP has made it less appropriate? So if this console had Tomb Raider, Gran Turismo, all three Resident Evil, it had 50 games on it, and it had all three Resident Evils, all three of the
50 games on it, but
or let's say it had 30 or 40 games. It had more games, and it had all three Resident Evils. It had all three of the first three Tomb Raiders. It had Final Fantasy 7, 8, and 9. It had, Abe's Odyssey, Abe's Exodus, all those games that do you think it would still be underwhelming compared to Nintendo? And do you think that's because the NES and SNES are just older consoles?
No,
they just lean into retro stuff.
I think that would probably be okay if they had more games. I think, again, like what you were talking with in one of the previous podcasts about, if there's the possibility for expanding or buying new games for it, which there probably isn't.
No, there isn't. They've confirmed that there isn't. Can we just... Sorry. I was just going to say, can we just talk about the inclusion of Rainbow Six?
Yeah, that's weird.
That's a strange choice, right?
I mean, it's one of those things. It's like Rainbow Six was always... It's a PC game.
PC game, and then I remember it coming to being big on consoles for original Xbox and Xbox 360.
Yeah,
I had Rainbow Six on Xbox.
By the time it came to 360, it was like Vegas, right?
Vegas,
and it was like the much more casual version of Rainbow Six, and it's one of those games that they don't really translate. It's like strategy games; they don't translate well to console. Like Command and Conquer came out on PlayStation 1, I think.
Yeah,
but it was terrible compared to compared to the PC version.
Regardless of how good or bad it was, it's a weird choice.
Yeah,
it's not a game I would equate as a PlayStation classic.
You don't really think of it as a. If there was a PC classic, which is just every PC, it's just your dad's old machine, your dad's old 086,
or like a Raspberry Pi, or something that just plays like
just abandonware.
Or like your phone. Because essentially,
you can
make Baldur's Gate on your phone. What the fuck is happening to the world? Anyway, I just wanted to briefly. Yeah. I mean, there's not much to say other than
the Rainbow Six one is weird. I'm glad they've got Metal Gear Solid on there. But honestly, that's like, I mean, Destruction Derby is a cool one, I suppose. But that's the only one I thought that if Metal Gear Solid wasn't on it, there's definitely no way I would have buying that.
Yeah, I mean, I said there'd be no Resi 2. And I said there'd be no Symphony of the Night.
Yeah.
Fucking Konami. Well, we'll get to Konami. We'll get to Konami in a moment. Item 2. So let's talk about this Fallout 76 beta bug that you actually told me about. I didn't know about it. Do you want to explain?
So apparently there was the Fallout 76 beta has already been and gone, right?
I believe so, yeah.
It was only for like 11 hours or something. Stupid.
20 minutes.
Obviously people had like preloaded, people who were invited to the beta days, preloaded Fallout 76, like 50 gigs worth of game. And it feels like, it seems like Bethesda has taken the joke that their games have lots of bugs in to like the next level by having a bug in the launcher for the beta that just deletes the entire game.
So you click any button in the launcher.
Even the tweet said, "Do not click any buttons." Do not click any buttons.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Don't click any buttons. So what? I assume they mean you've got to just like right-click the item to close the window.
I don't know.
Open the task manager.
I don't know what that means, if I'm honest.
End it that way, right?
So it deletes the entire client, the entire game.
Which is like, for me, would have been a mild inconvenience because I have a pretty fast internet connection here. You get 50 gig downloaded in 20 minutes or something, right? But if you're like sort of like in the Outer Hebrides and you've got
or in the middle of the
1
US.
megabyte
connection, oh my god! I mean, it would piss me off even if it were. And I mean, to
be fair, if you've got like such a slow internet connection, you're probably not going to get much out of a multiplayer game.
But still, and I mean, what's to stop it just happening again when you've downloaded it again?
But still, when people are ready to like play it,
I hope that
deletes the entire game.
I hope that bug stays in. That's hilarious. That's absolutely hilarious. My assumption is that it was fixed and the beta went ahead eventually.
I assume it was.
I haven't looked.
I haven't heard a lot about Fallout 76 beta, but I haven't heard great things. I heard people criticizing a lot.
I haven't really looked into it too much. Are you still buying it? Because we spoke about it, I think, on our first podcast.
The thing is, there's so many fucking games coming out, and so much money. I just spent a lot of money on bloody festival tickets for next year and that kind of thing, like all sorts of other stuff, holidays and things. At least I spent it now. It's all paid for next year, but with and I don't normally buy new games, right? I don't buy them at full price. Normally, I usually wait anyway. The exception being now we've done the podcast and things like Red Dead.
Black Ops.
Pretty important. But there's still Fallout 76, but there's also still Battlefield 5. There's also still Hitman 2.
You'll be buying Hitman 2 on launch, right?
I think I will be, actually. But because, I've been looking at some trailers for it recently, and some YouTubers have been streaming some stuff from like special beta events and things like that. Look really good.
Where's our invites?
Yeah,
got the biggest.
Well, maybe I could have got a
fan here.
Well, no, that's not true. I mean, if that were true, I would have been in the beta. Surely,
maybe
I would have had to. I would have been signing up for all the stuff, but
maybe Hitman 2016. I don't know anyone who likes Hitman 2016 more than you.
2016 is great.
But yeah, I don't know about Fallout 76. I really want to like it. I want it to be good, but there's so much out, and it's going to be so expensive. I don't know. I just don't know. I'm not completely sold on it just yet.
Yeah.
It'll probably drop in price as well at some point. We shall see.
Yeah. Again, I'm a little bit wary about it, but I don't know. I feel like maybe Bethesda are getting unfair flack at the moment. Well, for something that's only a beta as well.
Yeah, I mean,
I feel like they're also in the middle of a lot of competition, which is not great.
Is it out?
Either.
Is it out in November?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I'm sure we looked it up before, but I can't remember the exact release date. But I think it's out in November.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, probably, but now I don't really know anymore. I'm not even sure. I'm
sure we'll just get caught up in the hype and buy it.
Yeah.
Probably. But that's hilarious anyway.
Yes, silly.
Now comes the most upsetting news story I may ever read. So, this is somewhat uncorroborated. A lot of people on Reddit have been saying that this has been happening, but not everyone is suffering from it just yet. And I haven't actually checked my copy, so I'm not sure whether it's affecting everybody. I'm not sure whether it's just a rumor, or I'm not sure whether they're rolling it out separately per regions. That seems to be what people are thinking. It's coming out separately per regions. But basically, I don't know, Konami. So, a little bit of background. PT. Do you know what PT is? Do you know what PT is? So, PT was a demo, essentially, that was released about 3 years ago or so. Sort of secretly released on the PlayStation Network, just dropped without any hype. And it remains now one of the best survival horror experiences in video game form ever. Right. Okay. And I'm in no way being hyperbolic with that statement. Like, it is one of the best, like, survival horror. It elevates survival horror to new levels. It really did. And it turned out it was a teaser for a new Silent Hill game being made by Hideo Kojima and Konami and filmmaker Guillermo del Toro. But then, of course, everything blew up with Konami and Kojima after Metal Gear 5's release. PT, or Silent Hills as the actual project was called, was cancelled, and Konami removed the PT demo from the marketplace.
Okay.
So even if you'd downloaded it previously, you couldn't re-download it.
Oh, man.
This was rubbish, but for those of us who'd already downloaded it and hadn't deleted it, we still had access. So I've still been able to play it and have played it several times since. It's just a short demo. You can do it. You can beat it in a couple of hours, maybe.
Yeah.
But it almost feels like its own little standalone game. I won't go into too much of what it's about. It's a whole separate subject. But essentially, so we've still been able to play it. Apparently, Konami have released a patch today for it that has meant that it's no longer playable.
Oh, shit.
So they're releasing a patch that allegedly you have to install in order to launch the game, but once you install it, the game no longer plays. So it won't be ever playable ever again. If this is true, and it seems, like I say, apparently some people are saying it's coming out in certain areas, so it might be a patch that I haven't checked my copy when I get home, but essentially it looks like Konami are removing the ability to ever play PT ever again. Interestingly, some people have tried to remake.
What does it stand for?
The general consensus is that it stood for playable teaser.
Okay, right.
It's very Kojima, but there's a few other things it could stand for as well. But a couple of people tried to remake it in Unreal. There's been a couple of attempts to remake it in Unreal, and that was closed down by Konami with a cease and desist. There's been several sort of survival horror games that have come out since that kind of take inspiration a little bit from it. People even say that while it's commonly known that Resident Evil 7 was actually in development before PT, people say that its influence can even be seen in the Resident Evil franchise now.
Oh wow!
It is a superb piece of video game design. It is absolutely incredible. If you have it, I don't know what to say. If you haven't played it and you know someone who's got it and the patch hasn't deployed to them yet, just play it. Just take some time out, especially around Halloween. It's only take you an hour or two, but it's an experience that soon I don't think you're ever going to be able to, unless you watch a Let's Play, but it's just not the same. But so first of all, we don't know that this is definitely true, so this could just be a rumor, but it appears to be the case. So firstly, shout out to PT because it's such a good game. But secondly, if this is true, what do you think of this?
Well, I've never played it, so I don't know.
But I mean, what do you think of Konami doing this? Right?
I don't know. But if a game has so much love and support for it, like it sounds like it does, I don't know why they wouldn't. I don't know why they would remove it for a start. So I do know why they would remove it, because they're like, well, this is a cancelled game. We don't want.
So first of all, it's known that demo is really early, and the game hadn't really. It's not a part of the game, as it were. It was kind of a tease for what the game was going to be. Secondly, when you beat the demo, you get a trailer for the full game,
right?
Which has Hideo Kojima's name and stuff on it. So I can understand that if there's some legality that we don't know about, where he has to be given some, royalty or whatever, I don't know, because his name's on it, or there's some legality about the severance with him and Konami. But I don't understand why you wouldn't just remove the trailer, rebrand it as PT, not Silent Hill, and just release it for free, because people would just love it. It would engender such because Konami have pissed a lot of fans off in the last couple of years, and they are moving further and further away from game development and more into health spas and gyms and stuff like that.
What?
Yeah, in Japan, they own pachinko parlors and they own gymnasiums, and they make all their money from that. They're a huge company. So, but unfortunately, they own some of the best IP. They own some of my favorite IPs. They own Silent Hill. They own Castlevania. They own Metal Gear Solid.
Man.
They own all of these amazing IP. But it's just, if there was a way, if it's a legal thing, I get it, but I feel like it's not. I feel like it's malicious. It's just, nope, no one's allowed to play that. It's never going to be. It's just crazy to me. They will have taken time to develop this patch.
Yeah. Did it get patched? Had it been patched?
No, it's never been patched till now.
It's
no, never been patched.
If it's off the store anyway, right?
So it's 1.01.
I could never get it anyway, right? Because it's off the store.
Off the store, yeah. The only way you could ever play it is if you played my copy of it before this patch gets deployed.
Yeah.
So I'd have to bring my console to you.
I'm curious though. I want to watch some YouTube videos of people doing it. If that's
honestly, it's just so well. It's just it's become a game in itself. It's kind of it's not really. I don't really relate it to Silent Hills anymore, because that was cancelled and everyone made their peace with that. I think all Silent Hill fans have made their peace with where the franchise has gone now. We'll always have those original 3 or 4 games which were amazing, but more so, just as it's just on its own, it just stands as just such an amazing piece of design. Survival horror design.
Do you know why? What is it about it that's particularly?
It's very difficult without describing essentially. But basically, the general premise is that you start off in a room, a nondescript room with very little to nothing in it, a concreted up room. You go through a door, and you're in a corridor in someone's house. Right,
okay.
And things have been a bit trashed. There's some rubbish around, and it looks kind of a bit off. Things look a bit off. It's nighttime, raining outside. You can't really see out the window. It's just one corridor, really scarily lit, really quiet. And essentially, you go through that corridor, around a corner, so there's like a sharp 90-degree turn, and then you go straight, and then there's a door at the end of the corridor, and then you go through that door, and you're back at the start of the corridor again. And it's just a loop every time. And every time you go through the loop, things start changing, things get different.
Okay.
Some things are random, some things aren't. You start getting, the lights might go off, and then, then you start getting hunted by something. There's creepy visions you get. The game starts talking to you, telling you to turn around, telling you not to turn around, telling you the doors might be locked, they might not. Like, but every time it's this same loop. And it's masterful, because the minute you're relieved, because you say you're being chased by something that's trying to kill you,
Yep.
the minute you're relieved because you've gone through the door and got away from it, you remember that you're back in that corridor again. There's no getting out.
Yeah.
It's like, it's so cleverly designed. It plays on your mind so well.
Okay.
And everyone I know who's played it loves it.
Yeah, no, that's good. It instantly reminds me of Stanley Parable, actually. But,
I haven't played Stanley Parable.
Okay.
But Stanley Parable's not horror, right?
No, it's not. But it does have moments in it where it is kind of pretty scary. But Stanley Parable is essentially like but it's different. It's more humorous than horror, but it's similar in the way that it starts another loop again. You start in the same place. It's like a rinse repeat cycle until you get what is supposed to be the correct ending, and it has a narrator who is basically narrating your actions as you do them. It's not quite the same thing.
Yeah,
I get it, but it's not. Again, it's not really meant to be a pure. It's not meant to be a horror game.
I mean,
different things happen when you go through when you start again, or you decide to use a different door, for example, but within the same office building, right? So
it's like with PT, it lulls you into a false sense of security, because you can do 3, 4, 5 loops and nothing can change, and then it seems to be different every time. Like, when the changes come, is different.
Yeah, that's good. It's good because you see, like, it's fostering that sort of like fear of the unknown by
it's so well lit and controlled that it's something that could only be a video game. It could only scare you like that as a video game.
Yeah,
it doesn't work in any. You would have to alter it in any other format. So yeah, I mean, if this is true, that's a real shame, and I think that Konami would win back a lot of fans if it just gave PT to everyone for free. And I can't imagine that Kojima would have a problem with that. I don't know. This is guesswork, but like, it feels like malicious.
Yeah,
it feels like, let's wipe him from the face of this company and everything he was working on, which is just
that's not good.
Which is illustrated by the fact that they took his name off of Metal Gear 5 for a while.
Oh wow, really?
Yeah, and then they put it back on.
His name's all plastered all over the bloody thing now.
Yeah,
every chapter
they removed it from the box art and stuff when the shit first happened, and then they put it back on. But then they tried to say, he's leaving intentionally. It was all obviously like a massive falling out. We'll never know the details of it, I guess. But so yeah. Anyway, mourning for PT. It's a sad Halloween. Anyway. Moving on. Undertale. Do you like Undertale? I haven't played Undertale. I've got it. I haven't played it.
I was one of those people who we were having this conversation today with you, I think, and a few other people about how I started playing Undertale, but I never got past that. Apparently, this moment where you get it and everything falls into place and then you can't stop playing it, and it takes about like an hour and a half to 2 hours or something to do that. I never got past that part. And now I'm really curious because now... the news is hit about. So
yeah, this is the news that a sequel, sort of sequel called Deltarune has been released to download for free on the website, on the creator's website. I'm the same with Undertale. I say I haven't played it. I have played it. I played less than an hour. Didn't really click at the time. Was sort of like not feeling this right now. Maybe not the right kind of game for me to play right now. But everyone I know is either says to me that they're intending to play it, they've played it less than 2 hours, and it didn't click with them, or they've played it more than 2 hours and it's like one of their favourite games of all time. It's one of those three camps with Undertale. Yeah. And apparently Deltarune, I have a lot of friends who are big Undertale fans,
Yeah.
And I was talking to one of them today, and he said that Deltarune is excellent if you're an Undertale fan.
I think I was put off by it because it felt like it was a JRPG, like a classic JRPG.
It's got turn-based combat,
but I don't know whether after hearing people's experiences with it and how it does take sort of 1.5 to 2 hours to get into it, I don't know whether that would still be the case for me after that time. I'm just going to have to play it for a couple of hours at least.
I'm going to finish it. I'm going to play it through.
Yeah.
Hell or high water. I'm going to finish it.
The original?
Yeah, the original. And if I like the original, by the time I finished it, I'll look into Deltarune. I'm hoping Deltarune... I've got the original on PS4. I'm hoping Deltarune gets a console release. Because the original Undertale's out on everything now.
Well,
it's out on Switch and everything.
Deltarune is just it's also just an exe, isn't it? It's just a...
Yes, at the moment.
A build from Game Maker.
Yeah, essentially, yeah, that's what I understand. It hasn't been released on Steam or anything. It's just downloadable from the website. But yeah, I may have played Undertale before next week, so I may have more to say on Undertale between now and next week. So potential spoiler.
I might do as well if I get around to it. Like, God knows.
Yeah, I say that now. Fighting off Red Dead. Yeah, so Undertale got a sequel. Yay. So that's good. What other news have we got? Just a quick one. Some new games announced for Switch. I kind of thought it was interesting. So Resident Evil 0 and Resident Evil 1's HD remake thing, the ones that initially came out on the GameCube and were re-released on PC and consoles recently, are coming to Switch, as well as Resident Evil 4 and also Vampyr. You know that new Vampyr. The Don't Nod, which I bought on launch, played the first couple of hours of and was enjoying, and then just something came out and I stopped.
Yeah, I heard it's a bit weird.
It's good. It's got really good, it's really well written, and it's got really good ambience and dialogue and voice acting, but the combat and the gameplay is a bit wonky.
It doesn't really sort of. I don't know the gameplay is particularly. It sounded like a lot of what you do doesn't really make a lot of sense in terms of the story, right?
How so?
In terms of the fact that you are you're supposed to be. Do you have like a conflict, like an inner conflict between being a vampire?
Yeah. So the idea is set during the Spanish flu,
right?
Epidemic, in London, and you are a doctor, and therein lies your conflict, because you're a doctor, so your moral obligation is to save everybody, but you're also a vampire, which means your moral obligation is to kill everybody. And there's some interesting mechanics in there, like if you do side quests for people, and you help them and you get to know them and you talk to them more, the amount of experience you get off them if you feed on them and kill them goes up.
Right.
So there's this interesting, the more you get to know somebody and the more you help them, the more temptation there is to kill them. But then they're not there anymore, so you'll miss their missions, or you might miss out on some content, but you'll be really fucking powerful. Okay. So there's this interesting tug of war going on morally. But with your character, and there's choices you can make. You can choose to not feed on anyone, or you can choose to feed on everyone and not give a shit. So
the more friendly you are with them, then essentially the more,
So the more you help them, the more experience they will yield. The purer their blood becomes if you decide to feed on them. Are you less
likely to want to feed on them though, if just for purely emotional purposes? Right, emotional reasons, as a player, do you feel any real sort of compassion or empathy for people? Is that part of it? Because
I'd say so, because it's Don't Nod, and they're good at that. They're good at dialogue and characterization, and there's not too many NPCs that you can do missions for. There's not tons and tons and tons of them, so you get to know the characters, I guess. But they're good writers at Don't Nod in terms of dialogue and characterization and stuff.
Okay.
So I can't speak too much on the overarching plot because I don't know how that turns out because it's still early days for me. I've only played a couple of hours, but the dialogue and stuff does create this, like, they are real characters. You do feel like, you know.
I think what I'm trying to get at as well is, like, I think you did answer my question anyway, but what I'm also trying to get at is that would you refrain from an action because you genuinely felt compassion for a character, despite the fact that it would give you no disadvantage in killing them and a lot of advantages in doing that?
So your compassion is mirrored by the character. So the only disadvantage would be that character wouldn't be there anymore, and that there'll be a moral impact on your decision making in game as the character. But, like, I haven't fed on anyone.
Okay.
So that should tell you I've been eating rats in the street to try and keep my blood level up because because I don't want to. I obviously feel enough compassion to not kill these characters.
I mean, so I think part of the reason I'm asking is from an experience I just had actually in Red Dead 2, which is when I was asked to collect debts for the German guy who's in your camp, right? He's like he loans money out to people, then you've got to go and be the debt collector, right? So I go around to this guy's house and beat him up a bit, and he's a Polish guy. And I think he kind of feigns not speaking English, but then he kind of does speak English afterwards. He's trying to kind of bluff his way out of paying the debt. And then so you ransack his house, and he's like, "Oh, I've got nothing, you know." And then you're asked to loot the house to get any valuables of his to give back to the debtors, to give back to the German guy. And as you start to loot the house, he runs over to a cabinet and sort of tries to stop you from searching it. He's like, "Oh no, let's have a look in there." And inside is a wedding ring, like a gold wedding ring. And I felt really sorry for the guy, and I didn't want to take his wedding ring.
Do you have to take it?
No, turns out you didn't have to take it. Now, what happened at that moment was I looked in a couple of other drawers and I found a couple of things, and Arthur Morgan's like, "It's good, but it's not good enough."
Yeah.
And I was like, "Oh, no, don't take any of this stuff." So because I was trying to look for like, alternatives, and I was like, "Fuck it, I don't want to take this guy's wedding ring. Like, I'm just going to leave." But then I left, and it was at the end of I didn't want to play Red Dead anymore. It was like at the end of the night, and so I tried to save, but I couldn't save because I was in the middle of the mission. It's like, "No, you have to go back to that guy's house and like keep looting him." And I was like, "But I don't want to loot him like anymore, really." So I was like, "Well, fuck it, maybe okay." So I'll like, screw it. I'll go back to the house and I'll just see if I can find anything else. Unfortunately, I did find a bunch of other stuff in his house that I could loot without taking his wedding.
There's a moral grey area. I've heard criticisms from people that say that there's less moral choice in Red Dead 2, and that you can in Red Dead 1 you can choose to be a good guy who's got a bad past, or you can choose to be a bad guy, whereas Arthur Morgan is a bad guy. And it's just what shade of grey you are.
Yeah,
really.
I think I've heard criticisms about that as well, about how it almost doesn't matter how good you try to be on that sort of honor track. They have that sort of
he's still a bad
scale.
guy.
Like there are certain things you do, especially in I think story missions, where you're a bad guy, so this is
and it's interesting because it's not. I don't think that's a problem because of the story they're trying to tell. However, it does become a problem, I think, when you've got a situation that's emergent that happens, and you make a choice, and then that choice is completely undermined by a story mission. So, for example, there's a part where you come across an innocent person who's like, and I haven't come up, but I know that people have said this is just a very vague example, but you come across an innocent person who's witnessed you do something, and you don't kill them. They say, "Oh, I won't tell anyone." You don't kill them.
Yeah.
And that's an emergent choice. But then in a mission, someone will see you do something, and to continue the mission, you'll have to kill them.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, you've undermined, the choice is made for you.
Yeah, that's another side to that as well, I think. But yeah, it was an odd thing. I wondered again, like I left the house and I wondered whether the system, I didn't actually think that the system would not I thought it would just leave it at that, right, and just not, and I can just continue as normal. I didn't even think it was not going to let me save the game.
Yeah.
But I also wondered whether there was a way of kind of like, or whether they had factored that potential player choice into those kind of missions where you could just sort of walk away and not. But it doesn't seem like they have.
Sometimes
they've done it in a lot of other ways.
Sometimes they have, and sometimes they haven't.
They've done it in a lot of other ways, but not necessarily.
Yeah, I mean, again,
so
I'd have to play more. I'd have to play more to really understand whether that's a thing or not. But yeah, it's worth talking about. But yeah, anyway, Vampyr. I would say, you know what, Vampyr's a good, like, I bought it on launch for console, but I reckon it runs best on PC. Obviously, it's at 60 FPS on PC, and the gameplay's slightly better. I say it's like a good sort of Steam sale game.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah,
like it feels like a mid-tier game in the sense that it's got like AAA ideas, but a mid-tier budget. Yeah. So some of the ideas aren't quite as implemented as well.
Not great.
But I really like the fact that it has lofty ideas, lofty concepts. Like its concept is high concept. Yeah. It's kind of cool. Yeah. I like it.
It sounds like it wasn't quite executed quite as well.
Well, I think it's from a studio that they've got real strength in their dialogue and their systems like that and their ideas, and that translates really well. But the combat and stuff is like a bit clunky and a bit weird. And when you got stuff like Bloodborne, one of the greatest games ever made, that kind of combat with that similar aesthetic, I think it can be a bit of a. But yeah, no, it'd be interesting to see how it runs on Switch.
Yeah,
as well.
Yeah,
I wouldn't think it would have run, but here we are. So yeah, and Resident Evil 4. Resident Evil 4, which I believe the game's director or someone high up in at Capcom once said that he would cut off his own head if Resident Evil 4 was ever released on any other format besides GameCube.
Wow.
And I think it's now the most re-released.
He's going to like mangle his own head.
Yeah, I think that's. You can look it up. I'm not sure. I'm pretty sure that happened, but maybe I'm wrong.
Wow.
Yeah, crazy. So yeah, more Switch games. Yay. So next on the list, Project Hospital is released.
Project Hospital, which
now
came out of nowhere.
Now I know nothing about this, and this is something you sent me to put on the list.
Yeah. For
the news, so I have no fucking idea what Project Hospital is.
Honest, it just came like turn up on the out of the blue. Like,
is it anything like 2 Point Hospital?
It is, but not in its not in its sort of theme, not in its
execution.
Yeah, not its execution, I suppose. Yeah, it doesn't have that. It's a serious version of 2 Point Hospital, right? Right.
Okay. So yeah, explain a little bit about what it is and why you wanted it on the news report.
Just because I think it was an interesting counter to 2 Point Hospital, where it looks like both of these games. I mean, I know 2 Point Hospital is good. From what I've heard, I haven't actually played it.
Is it out?
Yeah, it's been out for a month. Didn't know it was out. But it's an interesting counter to 2 Point Hospital in that it's a serious hospital sim rather than 2 Point Hospital. We're very much drenched in like humor and these crazy ailments that people have, the floaty head syndrome or that kind of thing. Mummification and stuff like that, where they have to take it to a little room to unravel you, and all these kind of like very light-hearted look at like the sort of hospital management sim, whereas Project Hospital looks like an actually a more serious game. It reminds me of stuff like Democracy 3 and Big Pharma, which are both made by same company whose name escapes me.
The company that made this?
No, it's not the same company that made this, though, but it just reminds me a lot of it in its art style as well. So kind of it's almost like classic isometric building sort of it involves building, your clinics and rooms and hiring the right doctors for the right thing and that kind of thing, but just based in a more. And I just thought it was kind of interesting as a.
And the fact that it just dropped out of nowhere.
Yeah, out of nowhere. Like I don't,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I might check it out. Please check out 2 Point Hospital as well. Just a few more items, really. Firstly, today was the Nintendo Direct. for Smash Bros. Now, I know I'm a Switch player. You don't have a Switch, right?
No.
But you may get one in the future. But I'm not a massive Smash Bros. I like it, but I'm not like people are hardcore about Smash Bros.
Yeah.
But it's worth mentioning, they've announced some more characters. I think Ken from Street Fighter is in it. A bunch more amiibos, and the story mode has been detailed, so you can check that out. I think you can still watch the Direct. I think you can still watch it on Nintendo's site, or most game sites have listed all the major plot points.
Yeah.
But it's worth mentioning. I probably will pick up Smash Bros. Ultimate when it comes out, but I'm not like salivating over the idea of playing it particularly.
Yeah.
And finally, Black Ops 4, which we discussed briefly last week, which I haven't put as much time into as I'd like, apparently has added microtransactions.
I didn't know this.
I didn't know till today. I found out today, and apparently people are not happy. I don't think it's from what I understand, it's not for the Battle Royale mode.
Okay.
It's for the zombies mode.
Okay. So, but what is it? Is it cosmetic? Like?
No, it's for something. Eurogamer, I think, had the story. I can't remember the name. I haven't played too much zombies yet, so I apologise.
It's like pickups or weapons or something.
It's like a. What does it say? It's
the COD points.
Plasma. This stuff.
Beryllium plasma.
Yeah. That's what mainly what it seems to be for. I don't know if it also affects the multiplayer non-battle royale stuff.
I don't think it does.
But apparently they were always saying that it was going to have microtransactions right from before it launched. Yeah. But we didn't know when and what. But
interesting they add it after it's been released.
And so soon after it's been released.
Yeah, that's weird.
But yeah, I don't know what you think about it.
Maybe they realised it was popular enough for them to put microtransactions in.
Well, they were always planning to.
Yeah.
It might be that it's popular enough to, or it might be that investors were... Because I did hear a report that it made like $500 million and investors were still not happy on the investor call about how much money it had made. Which is crazy to me, but... So it might be that they've rushed that up to try and make it a little bit more profitable somehow. I don't think it's doing badly, but
no,
in the shadow of Red Dead, I can imagine. I think like if you've got investors who don't really understand, they just want to make money. They don't really understand how it works. If you've got COD comes out, makes $500 million. A week later, Red Dead comes out and makes $800 million. Someone who's just looking at the numbers is like, why hasn't our game made 800 million? Like more nuanced approach would understand that was never going to be the case. Rockstar release a game every 5 years or whatever. But I don't know. Maybe it's that. Just conjecture.
It seems like it's just kind of like speeding you up through the leveling up system. Time savers, yeah, again.
Yeah. But yeah, anyway, I thought it was worth mentioning.
He already had a super slow progression anyway, so I
only really play the blackout mode at the moment, and that has no real progression other than what I mean. Like what I mean. Like,
really.
It has a level, but you don't. Yeah. You can't. It would be unbalanced if you unlocked anything. So
yeah. It's weird.
So yeah, that's it. That's it for the news. And actually, I think we've been going about 2 hours, right?
Yeah, pretty much. Almost bang on.
Wow. Almost. Crazy. Time flies.
Time flies.
You're talking about Red Dead and other such things. Yeah. Well, there it is.
There's our episode.
Episode 4. Complete.
Oh my God.
100. We've platinumed episode 4.
Oh. Well, I suppose all there's left to say is bye till next time.
Indeed. And don't forget your charity.
Yes, I should
plug it again.
I should have. Yeah, I will plug it again. I say it's on this Saturday being the 3rd of November.
Right, yeah.
And we're doing 9 a.m. till 9 a.m. It's supposed to be 24-hour live stream.
Cool.
Supposed to be a 24-hour live stream.
Well,
what kind of state we'll be in at 4 a.m, I'm not quite sure, though.
I have no idea.
Yeah.
But it'll be great.
But yes, twitch.tv/invertlook.
And we'll put some links in the YouTube.
Yeah.
And also, keep the views, the likes coming. Even if you just like the video, it really helps us because it helps us reach more people. Comment on the YouTube video.
Yep.
And we're on Spotify and iTunes.
Yep. We are on Twitter at Black Spine Media.
Yes.
You can find us on YouTube under Black Spine Media. Yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty much it.
Cool.
All right.
Right.
See you later.
Bye.